Hello and welcome to the WIHS Journal Public Affairs program. I'm Gerry Williams. Their mission is to guide generations of courageous young men to honor God, lead with integrity, serve others, and experience outdoor adventure. I'm talking about Trail Life USA. Today and tomorrow, you're going to hear from CEO Mark Hancock. That's happening now on the WIHS Journal. It's news and public affairs. Well, he began his career founding a national advertising agency and running it for 15 years. His conversion to Christ led him into ministry as a youth and a college pastor, an associate pastor, homeless ministry director, and global event director for an international ministry organizing events on 5 continents. He holds 2 master's degrees in the mental health counseling field, having spent a number of years in private practice, and has taught at secular and Christian colleges. He has been a guest on numerous radio and television programs, including Fox Nation's Starnes Country, Family Life Radio, and James Dobson's Family Talk program. In 2017, he was named to the American Family Association's 40 Faithful. An author, award-winning writer, and conference speaker, he serves as Chief Executive Officer of Trail Life USA, which is what we're going to be talking about today, and lives near Greenville, South Carolina, with his wife of over 30 years. They have 2 sons. Joining me now is Mark Hancock, CEO of Trail Life USA. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Good morning, Gerry. I'm doing great. You know, you read that bio, and I sound like a guy who doesn't know what he wants to be when he grows up.
Well, where are you from, Mark?
Originally from Atlanta, but I was raised in South Florida, so I consider myself a Floridian. Lived down there until about 5 years ago when we relocated to South Carolina, which is the national headquarters for Trail Life USA.
Now, what kind of household did you grow up in? Was it Christ-centered or not?
Well, we went to church every Sunday. And I don't know that I had developed a close relationship with the Lord because I went off to college. It happens to so many kids. I got away from that habit. It was a habit for me of attending church, and then a number of years later, in my later 20s, I discovered that I did not in fact have a relationship with Christ, and I needed to fix that. And so I had one of those radical conversions. Adult conversions to the Lord that changed everything.
How did that, talk about that conversion? What happened? How did it happen for you?
Well, it's interesting. I was running an advertising agency at the time, and I was going to Philadelphia on business, and my best friend from high school lived in Philadelphia. When we graduated from high school, he went in the Marines, and I went off to college. What I didn't know is when he went off to the Marines, he had a miraculous healing on an operating table in Okinawa, and that led to his conversion to Christ. And so when I went to Philadelphia thinking I was going to party with my old high school buddy, he preached to me for 3 days, and while I was at my business appointments, he had his Bible study group over praying over my luggage and all my clothing and everything that I had there in his apartment. So I was stuck on an airplane somewhere about 30,000 feet over Atlanta. On my way back to Florida, I decided, I'm going to do this thing. I saw something in him that I lacked, that I had fooled myself over, and I landed. And within 24 hours, in a 3-story condo on the beach and just south of Daytona Beach, all by myself, I gave my life to the Lord.
We're with Mark Hancock, CEO of Trail Life USA. Now, Trail Life, was it born out of what happened or is happening to the Boy Scouts? And for our listening audience who does not know anything about what's going on with the Boy Scouts, explain that.
Yeah, well, that's a great place to start. It was clear that in around 2013, the Boy Scouts started to head in a direction that a lot of chartering churches and Christians who were active in Boy Scouts, we knew that they wouldn't be able to continue there. And so 300 volunteers across the country began talking about the idea. And they met through LinkedIn groups or social media groups. They kind of connected, and they started talking the idea about creating an alternative that restored sort of the original legacy of the Boy Scouts, which was traditional family values and boy-focused. And out of that, 50 people gathered in Louisville, Kentucky. I was invited to that meeting. I really didn't have a legitimate reason to be there. I was not in Boy Scouts. Growing up, I was not active in Boy Scouts. My sons were in Boy Scouts, and I attended. I sat in the back of the room. but I was not active in Boy Scouts. But I was in that group of 50 that talked about how we can bring these number of independent factions together and start one single organization that could offer a Christ-centered, boy-focused character leadership and adventure organization, so that churches that could no longer charter with Boy Scouts would be able to find a home. And so they selected 9 men out of that meeting and to be a steering committee. I ended up on that committee. And 68 days later, we held the national inaugural convention in Nashville, Tennessee. Governor Mike Huckabee was our keynote address. We had 1,100 men come from 44 different states and show up at that inaugural convention. And then 3 months later, we launched Trail Life USA with 10,000 members on our first day.
Now, what year was this?
2013 is when the Boy Scouts started leaving their trail. And on January 1st, 2014 is when we formally opened for business.
Take us through a typical, I don't know what you call it, a session. What do you have to offer? What do you teach the boys, and what's the age range and things of that nature?
Well, it's what you would expect from a character leadership and adventure organization. If you're familiar with Boy Scouts, we kind of look like that. We're organizing troops and patrols, uniforms, handbooks, awards. We have a robust awards program. Our highest award is the Freedom Award. Some amazing young men earning that award. But troops are doing what you would expect them to do in an outdoor organization: hiking and camping and pursuing badges and advancements. Starts at kindergarten and goes through high school. We're broken up into 3 units. We have our Woodlands Trail, which is the elementary age boys, and we have our Navigators, which is middle grade boys, and then we have our Adventurers, which are high school age. But they all meet as a single troop. So it's not like you leave one program and go to the other. It's a single troop, chartered, all ages chartered under a single charter. 99% of our troops are chartered by churches, and the churches have to agree with our statement of faith and our statement of values. And so in that setting, we consider ourselves an outreach of the local church. We're not an organization that just meets in the basement of a church and has some sort of a tentative relationship with that church. We consider ourselves an outreach of that local church, much like that church may have a youth program or a children's church or something like that. The Trail Life Troop is a integral part of that local church. So in that, it's growing that local church, because the unchurched boy who may be invited to come to a Sunday school or something and may never go, he may show up at a camp out or a bouldering thing, or a whitewater rafting or a hike or something like that. And what we're finding that's happening in these churches that are chartering Trail Life troops is that they're growing, because that unchurched boy is joining the troop, and then the unchurched family is joining that church. So we're not just an outdoor organization with a Christian skin. We are at our core a Christ-centered, boy-focused ministry that uses the outdoors in order to grow godly men.
How many, if I can say, chapters do you have across the country?
They're troops. We're going to organize some troops, charter troops. And we have about 850 across the country. We have 30,000 members, and we're in all 50 states.
All 50 states. Now, I thank God for what Trail Life is all about, because a lot of us was saddened when we started to hear the news and what was going on with the Boy Scouts. So I applaud Trail Life USA as an alternative. Go Trail Life.
Well, thank you, Jerry. You know, initially about half of our troops were formerly Boy Scout troops, and like I said, the churches were just saying we can't partner with this organization because it has changed drastically, and they understood that they're putting their own 501c3 status at risk, and they're putting their own religious exemptions at risk because they were aligning with an organization that had different values than theirs. And that's one thing churches need to look at, is the way that they're structured. We recently held a seminar, which folks can find on our website, with Alliance Defending Freedom, focus on the family, and Evangelical Child Abuse Prevention organization, talking about what churches need to be paying attention to at this time. And one of those things is their religious freedom.
And you just heard my conversation with CEO of Trail Life USA, Mark Hancock. Join me tomorrow at this same time for part 2. If you would like more information about what you heard today, call WIHS 860-346-1049, 860-346-1049. The opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily of those of the staff or management of the station. I'm Gerry Williams for the WIHS Journal. It's news and public affairs.